So, as you listen to this, you gotta ask yourself this simple question. Is the government doing way too much, or is Diddy's team downplaying it? Because, unfortunately for here, it seems like you're going to have to pick a side before the judge does that, because that's what we do. Anyways, let's get to it.
Dade, I got a special guest with me.
Hey y'all, Lorna Rosa here.
So today's hearing, defense is challenging the verdict, saying that under the law, there just wasn't enough evidence presented for a jury to convict Diddy of the Mann Act charge. Now, the headline moment came at the end of the hearing. The judge asked either side, do you have anything else left to say? And Diddy's lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro, who's very reserved, muted, speaks in a judicial tone, doesn't just throw around words like that. Well, at that moment, she didn't hold back, and she said, this is an embarrassment to the United States of America. Lauren, what did you think when you heard that?
I wasn't for sure in the beginning, but after some thought, I can't disagree with her.
What's left in this case, right? There is no sex trafficking. There is no coercion. There is no fraud. The only charge here is that 3 consenting adults went to a hotel and had a threesome, or 2 of them had sex in one watch. Why are we here is essentially the defense's point. Lauren, what were your other thoughts coming out of today?
I think some of the thoughts coming out of today were the prosecution is going to have to do a really good job of providing other cases that show that because Diddy did not benefit financially, he should be held in the way that he's being held and everything. That they really have to make this make sense at this point if they want the sentence to stick that they want.
Look, the prosecution is continuing to bring out the same stuff. After Alexandra Shapiro, Diddy's lawyer, gave her statement about this is an embarrassment, prosecution came back and their point was, but Judge, he was hitting. Judge, he was kicking. Judge, there was drugs. That's not what the Mann Act is about. The Mann Act is about transportation to engage in prostitution. The reason why I think Shapiro was saying it was an embarrassment, the reason why folks around this courtroom are thinking, what are we all doing here? 3 consenting adults go have sex in a hotel? What are we doing here?
11:04 a.m. Combs still in the holding cell, a defense table, Alexandra Shapiro, now representing an Alexander brother, Justin Baldino, and Charlie Gervais, Xavier Donaldson, Nicole Westmoreland, Brian Steele, and Agnifilo. Prosecutors, stone faces in front row. 11:06 a.m. Sean Combs is brought in MDC tan jail uniform. Apparently, the proposed order for button-down shirt didn't get signed. Wow. Sean Combs unloaded papers from a big file folder. He is seated between Driscoll and Brian Steele, just waiting for Judge Subramanian. All rise. Clerk. Appearances? Alexander Shapiro. With us is Mark Garagos. Sorry, to any Garagos. Some laughter in the courtroom. Judge Subramanian, you don't have to take the full 15 minutes. If you said all you need, please proceed. AUSA. We point you to U.S. versus Kelly, 2D Circuit, 2025, 128, F 4th, 387, which stands that Combs' Rule 29 arguments had to have been raised pre-trial. They've waived. This is on Judge's first question. Any case that has deemed a defendant's Rule 29 argument waived or forfeited. Judge, let's separate out the jury instructions. You're saying that this defendant's constitutional arguments should have been made at Rule 12 stage? AUSA Johnson. That's correct. Judge, the defendant's making an as-applied argument that they can do on Rule 29. AUSA Johnson. I want to push back on their reading of the cases. In Dennis, the defendant was arguing he couldn't be tried without infringing on the First Amendment. The parties agreed. It was only about sufficiency, Judge, but the court went right past waiver. Judge, Mr. Shapiro, can you address these arguments? Comes lawyer Shapiro. The Dennis case is on point. The court made clear that statutory construction arguments can be raised under Rule 29. Also, the Lopez case, I argued it. Judge, let's put the financial motive to the side. Why wouldn't Mr. Combs be liable under a willfully causing theory? Ms. Ventura or Jane furnished the payment for escorts, but Mr. Combs still had the relevant intent, no? Combs Shapiro, no. Many states find that prostitution is only when A pays B for X with A. Here, the government is trying to get around it. But the case where people watch others having X, it's not prostitution. The Atticus Reus in the Mann Act is transportation. Combs Shapiro. Commercial voyeurism is not prostitution. A number of states say there's no Paulino case in the New York and in the Georgia case. The government has alleged that a private residence had been used for prostitution, but the court said no, voyeurism. Combs Shapiro. The statute originally had a section about debauchery, which was excised later. The Supreme Court reversed the Seventh Circuit, holding that had affirmed a conviction where the defendants did not have a commercial motive. Combs Shapiro. Traveling interstate for a woman being a mistress or a concubine. Judge. The Cleveland case said polygamy met the immoral purpose test. Shapiro. Respectfully, I disagree. There was a late 19th century case about immigration. Ooh, this would be good. Combs Shapiro. All of the federal constitutional law that develop around privacy for X relations. Judge. Ms. Foster. AUSA Foster. This case is different that where a person in a booth watches I'm assuming just meant to put watches people have sex. Combs is challenging the term prostitution. AUSA Foster. Here. The woman helped arrange the transportation of the escorts. So for the defendant, it's aiding and abetting. Judge. You're saying they had the intent. They paid the money. They had the sex. That is willfully caused. Combs Shapiro. May I respond? Judge. I'll give you time in closing, Ms. Slavic. AUSA Slavic. The record does not show that every time an escort traveled and had sex, that sex act was filmed. They only say routinely filmed. He frequently filmed freak-offs or hotel nights, but not all the time. AUSA Slavic. These explicit videos charts show that there was travel for sex, but sometimes there were no videos recovered of those encounters. We can pull up the exhibits, Judge. You argue that even if they were filmed, it wouldn't matter. AUSA Slavic, right? AUSA Slavic. The Mann Act criminalizes travel for prostitution, not filming sex. The test for symbolic speech is whether there is an intent to convey a meaning. The transportation conveys no message, so there is no symbolic speech here. AUSA Slavic. And O'Brien, the protected symbolic speech was the burning of draft cards. Here, transportation is not symbolic speech. Judge, if a movie producer is making pornographic films, are you saying the First Amendment is not implicated? AUSA, a closer call. AUSA. In the other case cited, the producer said when they transported will be filming a movie. Here, he only intended the individuals to engage in prostitution. The defendant here was not an amateur porn producer. Judge, if we get to O'Brien, what is the important governmental interest? Slavic. There's a substantial governmental interest in regulating prostitution. 478 U.S. 697, 1986. The court declined to apply O'Brien because the act had nothing to do with speech. Slavic. Justice Scouter in Dissident said he would have applied O'Brien, but even he agreed the regulating prostitution is an important governmental interest. On laws against nude dancing, court finds secondary impacts important. AUSA Slavic. There are reasons to regulate prostitution. See Exotic Service Provider 880 F3D 459, sir. 2018, about a California prostitution law. It's to prevent violence against women and for health. All 50 states regulate prostitution to different degrees. What? What the hell? Sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Slavic. The federal interest kicks in for transportation interstate or internationally. The Barnes case found that requiring pasties for dancing was okay. Judge. Ms. Shapiro, on the First Amendment, Combs Shapiro. It was filmed the majority of the time. Combs Shapiro. Just because the footage wasn't found doesn't matter. The U.S. had ignored our 2D First Amendment argument that he was a consumer of amateur porn. As to being a producer, amateur porn is protected by the First Amendment. Shapiro. At trial, they emphasized that it was choreographed, that there was role playing in wigs. All right, I see you. It was filmed, so covered by the First Amendment. But Mr. Combs also had a right as a consumer of amateur porn, free speech. Coalition versus Paxton. Shapiro. Jane even brought a TV so they could watch the videos together. Judge. How does that apply to the transportation count? Shapiro. If the intent included filming and watching later. Judge. So not prostitution if it's recorded and watched later? Shapiro. You wouldn't have to find this. This is a unique case. Judge. Ms. Slavic pointed out the government's other interests, including transportation across state lines. Shapiro. You have to look at the conduct of the defendant. Yeah, can't lie. That's pretty good to point out. Judge, they say drug use. Shapiro, the only drug charge here was in the RICO charge, of which Mr. Combs was acquitted. DOJ policy doesn't even say what Ms. Slavic says. It says the statute should only be used on prostitution as a business or the trafficking of minors. Judge, those were my questions, Ms. Shapiro. I believe Ms. Foster said the two women testified they were paying for prostitution. We must have been in a different trial. I don't remember either woman saying they were involved in prostitution. Judge, let me ask you A businessman takes one of his clients to a brothel and pays a prostitute to have sex with his client. That's not prostitution, Shapiro. Is he a voyeur as well? Shapiro. The Mann Act has racist origins. Even 100 years ago, the statute was being criticized by many Supreme Court justices. Many juries refused to enforce it. The statute is embarrassing to the U.S. I submit respectfully, Shapiro. Mr. Combs should be acquitted of the Mann Act. Thank you. AUSA. The purpose of the Mann Act has no impact on First Amendment activities. The arguments about DOJ policy, those are being argued. I'm assuming I meant to say have been argued. There was a motion to dismiss. Denied. They claimed there should be no concern about secondary effects because it was behind closed doors. But that's the point. Mr. Ventura was being punched and kicked. The defendant has the burden to show that the evidence was not sufficient. They can't do it. Cassie and Jambo testified, although they didn't want to be having sex with others, but they had to. For days. He planned them. He choreographed them for his own pleasure. If the escort couldn't perform, he was paid less. AUSA. This went on for 15 years. The evidence is sufficient. The defendant's motion should be denied, Judge. Thank you. Anything about sentencing, if the motion is not granted? Come Shapiro. No. I'll decide soon. Adjourned. So the judge. It seemed like to me that the state is being kind of shady. Because in one instance, they're saying, oh, well, here's what you were supposed to do. But then, and that was the rule 29 or 12, can't recall right now. But they're saying basically, oh, you can't use this when Diddy's team, like 100% we can use this. And other courts have actually did this as well. So it boils down to this, to the judge, like it's supposed to anyways, because he's the referee. But I think the judge, honestly, bruh, I think he kind of sided with Diddy a little bit. But it's also one of these weird things where it's like Diddy's team is acting like he didn't get found guilty of shit. Like, that's the part where it's kind of like, I don't want to say pissing me off, but it's kind of like, yo, bro, y'all do realize your mans didn't beat all the charges. So it's seeming like they're acting like, yo, bro, yeah, even though he got guilty of the Mann Act twice, like that's the part where I think even the people watching this, like, y'all forget, bro. Hey, he got found guilty of 2 felonies. Like it's 2 felonies he got found guilty of, bro. So all right, cool. The drugs he didn't get found guilty of, all this other shit and the RICO and all that, because it definitely was not a RICO. I don't think it was RICO worthy. I think a majority of this stuff should have been brought upon with certain states. And because of the statute of limitations, they just decided to say, hell no, we're going to fry him and we're going to try to take his money. Failure on their part. But the worst part about all of this, and I'm just going to be fair, square, obvious, and honest, is this. Nobody has anywhere to specifically point to. The Mann Act is a racist damn act. It was really about trying to pin black men to the cross if they were messing with white girls. Just about to make that obvious. So not only do you have that, but also, bro, we just gonna be fair. Them lawyers was having 2 different arguments, it felt like at times. It felt like, oh, well, listen, we want to talk about this right here. All right, Diddy did pay for this stuff, but so did Jane and so did Cassie. You mean unindicted co-conspirators. That's what you mean to say. That's what you should be saying. But they didn't even do that. Because the weird part is if you do that, then you're admitting you just let people away with crimes to testify. So it's going to sound bad because it's going to sound like, well, who do we know is actually setting this shit up? If I know this is a freaky dicky, and he's definitely a freak monster, y'all was actually cool with this shit. So now they don't really like using co-conspirators at all. Unindicted co-conspirators, pardon me. But also at the same time, too, Diddy's team is acting like, well, nah, man, you probably should redo this one right here. Man, listen. I said what I said. I think he's going to get 36 months, going to get time served, and eventually come back home next year around before Thanksgiving. That's just me. So around October next year, I believe Diddy will be getting out. Will I be wrong? Probably not. Probably not. But we'll see, man, because this stuff done got insane. But if you want a longer video on this, I think I did a pretty good detailed one. Click right here and you can find all of that out. Other than that, man, I will catch y'all in the next one. Make sure you get over there to the Reloaded channel. I think I'm going to start something else over there as well as far as the giveaways, because I do want to start doing the last of the giveaways. Just going to be fair, square, obvious, and honest. But click right here to see exactly what the hell we're talking about. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.